I'm addicted to fentanyl. At this point, I have a $9,000 a month fentanyl habit. It's an exhausting way to survive. I still had it in my mind that I could do it myself, but it got really bad. And when it came time where I knew I just couldn't do it by myself, I knew I needed help of others, the program. I knew Christ needed to be at the center of it.
Welcome back to another episode of the Journey to Solutions podcast. I'm Marco Ferrante, and today we got Dylan from Phoenix, Arizona. Our mission at the Journey to Solutions podcast is to interview people from all walks of life and share how they've transformed their obstacles into lifelong solutions. We believe that our lives are the greatest blueprint to another person's breakthrough. Regardless of where you're currently at, there's a life beyond your wildest dreams that's residing ahead of you. So today we're going to talk a little bit about how to build an empire and how to burn one down. But in the midst of burning one down, how to stay sober and find peace and joy in all of it. So Dylan, if you would just take a second to just introduce yourself.
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much, man, for having me. I'm super stoked to be here with you guys. My name is Dylan. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona, and I think introduce yourself. That's challenging me a little bit. So I'm a brother, I'm a friend, I'm a man in recovery, and I'm a child of God. I think that's the quickest and easiest way to put it.
Yeah. I think it's so important that we identify who we are, because if we don't, the world will tell us who we are. And a lot of people, they identify with their abilities or their skills or their talents. But, spending time with you the past 2 days, I've really gotten the opportunity and pleasure of really, really meeting who you are in the core. And you're a man of value, a man of integrity, of humility, and principles before personalities.
Yeah.
You're a great example of the of the program.
I appreciate
and of
that.
someone in recovery. Would you mind just sharing with the audience that pivotal point that transformed your entire life?
Oh man. So what are we talking? Are we talking recovery? Like what led me to recovery? What led me to Christ? I feel like there's so many different moments in my life that I can point to, each in their own individual, each of their own importance.
Yeah.
What area more specifically would you be looking for?
That pivotal point that turned you to Christ.
Turned me to Christ. So, I would say there was this dude that I was working for, and he was probably the only positive male influence that I had in my life at that time. And I was working for him, and I was in addiction at this point. I was actively in addiction. And he never forced anything on me.
Right.
But he did talk about Jesus, right? He talked about Christ. Now I knew of Christ. I would even say that I probably believed in God, right? But I wasn't following, and that's a huge difference, right? Believing and following. But this dude, man, he would sneak in conversations with me.
Right.
And because I worked for him, we'd have the opportunity to, have long talks, long conversations. I was on the road for 300 miles a day. So that left me a lot of time to be on the phone. And he would always talk to me. But more than anything, what I remember, and I think this is extremely important because it's something that I try to practice, and I fail a lot, but I try to practice this, is he didn't just tell me about Jesus, he showed me Jesus through his actions. I was in active addiction. This is a guy who knew me when I was a baby. He knew my family. He knew where I came from. He knew what my house looked like growing up, right? And he showed nothing but love the entire time. He loved me. He loved my family. And he showed me what grace and humility and gentleness and kindness and forgiveness, he showed me what that looked like. And I would say that was a huge seed planted. He's like, hey man, I know you're driving all day. Check this out. And he'd send me, a book in the Bible to listen to. So I would say that's one of the first seeds planted. It wasn't until I found the program that, with Christ at the center of it, that I truly learned how to have a relationship with him. So I guess there's no one moment. It was very much seeds planted.
Right.
And waiting for them to grow.
Did it take a rock bottom for you to come to Christ?
Yeah, dude, it helped.
Yeah.
It helped. You know what I mean? Because so I fast forward to everything, I'm addicted to fentanyl.
Right.
And I at this point I have a $9,000 a month fentanyl habit,
Right.
and it's an exhausting way to survive.
Right.
And I remember trying to get clean, and I just wasn't buying into the solution.
Right.
I still had it in my mind that I could do it myself, but it got really bad. And when it came time where I knew I just couldn't do it by myself, I knew I needed help of others, the
Right.
program. But thank goodness, man, that the wisdom and the discernment was there from the Holy Spirit, from God. I knew Christ needed to be at the center of it.
Right.
So yeah, absolutely. It wasn't until things got really bad that I was able to fully surrender. And I hope that's not the case for everyone out here, right? Because I could have chosen to surrender a long time ago, but it
Right.
took what it took for me. But I'm so grateful for that too, man, because, as I believe it's in Luke when it says, man, like those who are forgiven a lot love a lot,
Yep.
right? And man, I've been forgiven a lot.
Yeah.
I've made mistakes in addiction,
Right.
in recovery. I've blown my life up multiple times, and God's forgiveness and grace and the people that He puts in my life, it's incredible, bro.
Right.
Far beyond what I deserve. It's insane. So yeah, I would say that rock bottom, ruining my life, bringing me to the point where I knew I needed to rely on Him. I knew I needed a relationship with Him. I knew I needed to learn more about the man that He's calling me to be,
Right.
right? And then just the empathy that I've gained for people too throughout that process, the love that I have for people, the gentleness that I now strive for, the
Right.
humility that I now strive for. Man, it's deep. I don't know, bro. It's deep, bro. It's so big. I
Right.
feel like I don't even have enough words to answer how big that question is.
Right. And I too am a firm believer that sometimes we walk through the hell we create to
Yeah,
reach that peace of heaven.
for sure.
Right. And us in recovery, we've had the blessing to walk through the deepest depths of hell. So that way, when we make it out, we have the ability to go place our hand inside there
Right.
and grab somebody else.
And what an honor.
And only an individual who has personally undergone that has the ability to empathize with somebody else who's currently going through it.
Absolutely.
And you touched on something crucial. You said the difference between believing and following. Would you mind talking about that a little bit? Like, what's the difference between just believing in God and following God?
When I believed in God, I didn't really know Christ's character.
Right.
I was told that I was forgiven, and that He loved me, and excuse me, and all these things, but I didn't know,
Right.
right? Like I had experienced Him in my life even when I didn't realize I was experiencing Him.
Right.
But following Him, now I'm in His word. Now I'm seeing what He says about me.
Right.
Right? Who does Christ say that I am?
Right.
What did He do for me, right? Like the sacrifices that He made, the way He treated people, right? So now I have a blueprint. You like that word blueprint? I have a blueprint on how to live my life, right? And whether I choose to follow it or not, that's up to me. And there's consequences when I don't,
Right.
and beauty when I do, right?
Right.
But I would say following, man, is how can I be more Christ-like? What is He asking of me? What does He say that who does He say that I am? And how much am I being of service to His children?
Right.
Right?
The word says that the wages of sin are death,
Right.
but the free gift of God is eternal
100%.
life. What a blessing to
100%.
know where our sin leads us,
Right.
right? And sin is just a physical manifestation of something so much deeper rooted that's going on inside of us, right? We have all different types of addictions, right?
Of course.
Ours was just a little bit more prevalent to the world, was a little bit louder to the world. But
Right.
some people, whether they deal with sex, whether they deal with gambling, whether it's shopping, right? It's just that physical manifestation to escape self, right?
Absolutely.
But we know where that free gift leads us.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
leads us to eternal life. And that's the nicest part is it's a gift that we can't earn. It's already
Right.
here for
Right,
us,
right.
right? It says that every good gift from heaven's already stored inside of us, like we were speaking about yesterday,
Right.
right? That we are now citizens of heaven, right? That everything we touch now prospers, right? Not by what we do, right? Like I was saying earlier, right? We don't identify by what we do, rather because of who He is and who He created and intended us to be,
Right.
right? So I believe context is so important, right?
Right.
So share with us a little bit about your upbringing, what that looked like.
So my upbringing, man, it's so funny, as my mind clears and as I continue to work my program,
Right.
continue to build my relationship with Christ, my views have changed on my upbringing.
Right.
Early on in recovery, I probably would have been a little harsher on it than I am now. but I was blessed to actually have a childhood. I will say that.
Right.
You know, a lot of the things that took place in my childhood weren't appropriate.
Right.
You know, they weren't appropriate. But what I will say is, I was born to two teenage parents.
Right.
My mom was 17. My dad had just turned 19, and when I was born, we lived in it's Maryville, it's called. It's
Okay.
just like a little area in Phoenix. That's where our first few houses were, and the one thing that I'll say, man, is my dad, and I won't tell his story, but my dad went through a lot of trauma, man. He went to like 20 some different schools growing up.
Right.
He lost his little brother shortly after I was born to a car accident. His mom died early. You know, a lot of drug addiction. My dad had one of the most unstable childhoods I've
Right.
ever heard of, um, and a lot of that transferred to me.
Right.
But what I will say is that he did his very best. My mom did her very best. And I always knew that they loved me. So as
Right.
chaotic as the house may have been at times, there was always a lot of love in the house, and I knew that,
Right.
right? And he would always tell me it's going to be up to you.
Right.
Uh, to bring us forward, to bring us forward. So he instilled that in me young. But other than that, man, I was, kind of a rowdy kid. I loved to skate. I played
Right.
sports year round. I love to get into trouble, and but I did my best in school, and when I was a little kid, straight A's in school until I decided I didn't like school anymore. You know
Right.
what I mean? But yeah, I would say that excuse me, I was actually blessed with a childhood, and despite some of the gnarly stuff around there, I am grateful to my parents for the job that they did. They did their very best.
How is it that you continue to walk in a manner worthy of the calling you received today? Like what is personal development's huge to me,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
Huge to
absolutely.
me. What are some things you do on a daily basis that allow you to not only maintain your sobriety, because that's just the absence of the drug,
Right.
right? But allow you to really recover and walk forth in this power and authority that resides inside of you.
So there's a few things, and I like the fact that you separated sobriety and recovery because they are two different things. I believe that, at least. I believe they're two different things. Sobriety is a side effect of my recovery, right? Like I say it all the time. Like if this was only about being sober,
Right.
I'd be high right now.
Right.
I'm uninterested in just sober,
Right.
right? That's boring to me, right? That's not what I want. That's not fulfilling. That's not purpose driven,
Right.
right? Recovery, man, I get to help those. I heard this. I heard this before, and it was amazing. He said, "We are most equipped to help the man that we used to be."
Right.
Recovery allows me to go back into the trenches and help people out, right? Like you said, we walk through hell and we're able to put our hand back in there and get people out, right? Like that gives me purpose, being able to help the person that I used to be. So one, I have to be of service. Two, I have to actively work my 12-step program to the
Right.
best of my ability. And three, I have to continue to seek God. I have to continue to grow that relationship with Him, become a better leader, become a better man, become a better servant, right?
Right.
Those three things, man, provide so much fulfillment, so much joy, so much purpose, and I stay sober as a result of that.
Wow. Wow. I love it. So what does seeking God look like for you on a daily basis?
One, I need to be in my word, right? I need to be in my word, and then learning again just more about His character. My first sponsor always says, like, I might butcher this, but I don't. I'm really gonna try not to because it's great. He says, "To the extent that I seek God is the extent that I will understand God." Right. So I have to continuously seek Him,
Right.
and the beautiful part about it is I can read the same story over and over,
Right.
but tomorrow it's gonna hit me different
Right.
because of the season of life that I'm in, because it's a living, breathing word.
Right.
So not resting on past work, continuing to grow, continuing to develop, continuing to develop those relationships with Him and His children, and just learning the best ways to be of service, man.
Right. And you put that perfectly, right? As we seek God, He draws nearer to us,
Absolutely.
right? He's given us those keys, right? He's given us those keys. We were talking about yesterday about a trial that you kind of had just undergone. I think it's super important for the listeners because regardless of where we're at in life, every single one of us are going to continue to go through trials and go through difficulties. But this is the good news that our sufferings and our current difficulties are producing a gift of eternal glory. Everything we go through has purpose. It has reason behind it today.
Yeah.
Would you mind sharing with the listeners what that trial was like, and how did you remain sober in all of it?
So, yeah, man, so 2024 was probably the toughest year of my life, and that's saying something, considering having gone through addiction, having gone through addiction, the recovery process, and all of it, and So in 2024, so I'll backtrack even a little bit before that. 2023, man. Prior to that, I was on fire, right? I'm on fire for recovery. I'm on fire for God. I'm on fire to be of service. Like I want to be of maximum use.
Right.
Paul says, "Do not let new believers become leaders in the church because Satan will
Wow.
call them to fall, or
Wow.
will cause them to fall."
Right.
I didn't know that part.
Right.
My foundation wasn't as good as I thought it was. Right. I wasn't equipped to deal with temptation as I thought I was. And I fell. I fell hard, man. I fell hard. I was humbled. And we talked about it last night, how sneaky the ego is, how sneaky pride is, right? How sneaky the enemy is, right? All of these things that I was doing, I was using my story and my life to glorify God. But somehow it started switching.
Right.
And one day I woke up and I realized I'm using God to glorify me.
Wow.
And my ego had taken over all over again, you know. And Bible tells us, when we are standing firm, be careful that we do not fall. Man, I thought I was standing so firm, and I wasn't looking for the fall, and I did, and I, you know, I'm just, I fell to temptation, I fell to lust, and I made a crazy decision. It's still tough to talk about, man, because I'm so heartbroken over my decision and the people that I hurt. But yeah, man, like throughout all this, I'm 12 stepping, I'm serving in ministry, and I think I'm doing so good. I'm so on fire, and then boom, I'm messing up, and now I fell to lust, and I'm a married man.
Right.
That mistake caused so much pain, and it eventually led to a divorce. You know, and she had every she was biblically allowed to divorce me based off of my actions. And January 2024, I officially moved out of the house. I'd been out shortly before that, but January 2024, I had moved out. And yeah, man, it was tough. I lived in my truck for 4 months. And it was, I will say this, there was some form of self-punishment
How
there.
much time did you have sober at this
I was
point?
coming up on 5 years of
I'm coming up on
sobriety.
5 years.
Yeah, so 5 years sober, living in my truck, divorced. That wasn't in the plans,
Right.
right? That's not like that wasn't a part of the promises that I
Right,
heard
right,
about,
right,
right?
right.
You know, I'm like, well, what happened?
They
You
talk
know?
so much about the promises, but not so much about the cost.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I'm in my truck, man, and it's crazy, but you know, I'm really grateful. I told you last night, I never want to do that again, but I will look back at the time with such gratitude because during that time, I was able to one stay sober because I'd done it before, right? The program saved my life before, and the program could keep me sober again, right? That's I knew where to go. So that's one beautiful thing, man. Let me highlight that. I knew where to go. I knew where to go, and more than anything, I knew what my source was. I had Jesus in my life, bro. I had Christ in my life. I was good, no matter what. Like I always tell you, you can put me on a street in the back of my truck in the nicest resort in the world. I'm good either way, bro. I'm good, and that's like crazy because I have such a high ceiling, but like my bottom is also incredibly low. So I got all this space to float in between. You know what I mean? So I have to constantly be pursuing Christ in order to continue elevating. You know what I mean? But during this time, man, because I'm about to get, I'm about to go off on tangents right here. I'm
It's all
trying to
right.
get hyped up. Yeah,
Let
yeah,
it
yeah.
happen. Let it happen.
So it's just this time was so crucial to my life because this was my rebuild, right?
Right.
Christ revealed. I was exposed.
Right.
I was exposed. I realized my foundation was not as solid as I thought it
Right.
was. Right. I was extremely vulnerable to attacks. I didn't know that.
Right.
Right. I just didn't know what I didn't know, and I
Right.
fell, and I fell, and man, the time that I was alone in that truck for 4 months, bro.
Right.
You know, that time with God,
Right.
deep. I'm talking like loneliness. You know, the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous talks about when we reach the point where we no longer know how to live with or without alcohol, we will
Right.
know loneliness like very few ever will. Man, I found loneliness in sobriety.
Right.
Like very few know, right?
Right.
And I'm so grateful for that, bro. Because there was no one there to save me, right? There was no one there to make the pain stop. It was just me and God. And what did I have? I had a Bible with me. So I'm just in my truck, bro, and I'm in my word, and I'm dedicating my time to Paul's letters because I need instruction in my life. I realize that, like, oh my gosh, I need instruction. I need direction, right? So I'm reading these letters, and I come across 2 Corinthians when he talks about a previous letter that he had sent, and he says, man, you know, at first that I was sorry that I sent that to you because of the pain it caused you. the pain that it caused you. But I now see that it is that pain that allowed you to repent. And that's godly sorrow. So now I'm happy I sent it to you. And that hit me so hard, man, that godly sorrow, right? Because he says godly sorrow leads to repentance. Earthly sorrow leads to death, right? That godly sorrow, I felt that. And it started making sense, right? And through that process, I learned how to rebuild. I remember sitting in my truck one night and I'm having a conversation with God and I'm just tripping, right? Again, because coming up on 5 years of sobriety, this wasn't in the plans. How did this happen, right? Just like to the time I was dope sick, laying on a dirty McDonald's bathroom floor, I'm asking, how did I let it get this bad? Now I'm sitting sober in the back of my truck thinking, how did I let it get this bad again?
Right.
Right. And I'm having a conversation with God and God just tells me, he says, hey, man, I asked you to keep your house in order. You didn't. Let's try a smaller house now. And at this time, my truck is a mess, bro. I got clothes everywhere. I got like all my stuff everywhere. Bro, I got some totes. I folded all my clothes up. I cleaned it up, right? I started making like a livable space, as livable of a space as the back of your truck can be. But I did, right? Because like I heard that from God. I'm like, all right, cool, I got you, right? And then I continued working. And what's so beautiful, man, about the program and the people in it is, dude, I had people ready to help me out. Like anytime I had people like, yo, bro, we're making some dinner tonight. Let me get you. Because also during this time, my business went like non-existent, bro. So not only did I like, am I like living in my truck, all of a sudden, bro, business just stopped, right? I sell real estate in Phoenix. It's been a tough couple years already, but I'm telling you, I started losing deals from the most random reasons, bro. Random. So now here I am, broke, hungry. You know, my ex-wife and my daughter are good, but I'm eating peanut butter sandwiches. Like I'm scraping by. I'm like drinking protein powder with water just to get some calories in, right? And I'm also grateful for that because I felt what it was like to truly rely on God for my next meal, bro. For my next meal. And that's not something I had experienced recently. You know what I mean? So to go through that, it was beautiful. And throughout this whole process, like, I'm in pain. Don't get me wrong. I'm hurt, bro. Like, I'm hurt. I'm in pain nonstop. And I'm hurting from the situation. But, bro, there was this peace about it. And I would tell God sometimes, I'd be like, bro, like, when is this going to stop? I'm done. Like, okay, I got it. Like, I'm hurt. Like, make the pain stop.
Right.
And he would just say, be patient.
In the Beatitudes, Matthew says something pivotal, right? And I see you living this out in real life, right? Blessed are the poor in spirit, for they shall inherit the kingdom of heaven, right? And that's completely paradox to the world, right? But you understood the dependence that you needed on God in that moment, time, and being that allowed you to really draw real strength. And you had identity over all things, right? Because I'm sure people were coming to you from all different directions and were like, Dylan, how did you end up in this place?
Yeah.
You got 5 years sober. How did you end up in this place? But you had identity within and you had a foundation, right? Even though you may have think that you didn't have a foundation, you had a foundation because you knew exactly where to come back to.
100%.
Right? And when the winds are strong, there's no reason to fear if the roots are deep. And your roots were rooted in Christ. And that's what kept you going. That's what kept you strong, right? So even though you may have not thought that you had a foundation in that time, that quiet whisper in your spirit led you to exactly where you know you needed to be, which was back with him. You know, I too undergone something very similarly. 3 years into sobriety, I ended up getting incarcerated for a case that I caught prior to getting sober. When I went in there, I knew I was going in there for a mission for the Lord.
Right.
It was part of what he was preparing me for what resided ahead.
Right.
People think when we come to Christ that it's all rainbows and unicorns,
Bro.
but it's the complete opposite way around. Now we start to undergo heavy trials, right? Heavy difficulties. Why? Because he knows that we're destined for greatness, but he has to build the character prior to the blessing, so that way we can sustain the blessing when it comes, and we don't find identity in the blessing.
Right.
Because if we place the blessing over the blesser will strip the blessing from underneath us.
I got smoked. You
knew, though, somewhere deep within you, you knew who the blesser was, because that's what you came back home to, right?
Absolutely.
And I commend you for that. Right. And that's what I really wanted to highlight and share today, is that through all of it, he still had peace and joy inside his heart. And
100%.
that is tremendous. Share with the viewers a little bit about what your life, what it looks like today.
So today it's beyond what I deserve right now, man. So I ended up moving in with somebody that I met on a mission trip, and that I met. He's in the program as well. So God putting people in my life, right?
Right.
And this man is in a wonderful example, man. Shout out Ryan and Amy if they watch this. But they, servant's heart, right? So today I live in the nicest neighborhood that I've ever lived in.
Right.
Not on my own doing. I live with people who absolutely love me. My daughter has a room there. I have a room there. Um, it's just weird, bro. And like I get to take these trials that I went through
Right.
and be of service to somebody else. You know what's crazy is I when all this was happening, I thought, man, how am I going to be useful anymore? Because it was a heartbreaking thing. Like,
Right.
man, like I just ruined my usefulness to God,
Right.
and how small my thinking was, and how egotistical that was of me to just decide I can ruin my usefulness to God, right? And I remember thinking, like, man, here I am. I was in ministry, sober, and I'm getting a divorce, and like, how can I be useful? Well, in comes this dude who is an alcoholic pastor who's getting a divorce, and he asked me to sponsor him.
Right.
It's like, all right, God found something already, right? So like God is using that experience that I just had, and he's allowing me to help
Did you
others.
catch imposter syndrome when he asked you to come sponsor him? Like not feeling like you were meant to sponsor him?
Dude, so I actually gave all of my sponsees the opportunity to fire me.
Yeah.
When I failed, I said, hey, listen, man, this is what I did. I'm gonna leave it up to you if you would like to fire me as a sponsor, right? Because I believe sponsees and sponsors are fireable at any time.
Right.
So I gave them all the opportunity. But no, I because I don't. When I sponsor somebody, man, I really try not to tell them what to do as much as I guide them from my experience, right? And I'm never too stubborn or foolish to believe that their experience can't be different, right? I have evidence, numbers don't lie. I can look at how many people have gone through this situation. I can say, hey, man, this is probably what's going to happen, man. But I always tell people, like, you do whatever you want to do, bro. Like, that's on you. You know what I mean? So I don't know that I felt too much imposter syndrome in that situation. No, other than more, I more so felt like, wow, like, I just said these things, and then God's like, here, sponsor this guy. You know what I mean? Who's going through something similar as you. So
Right.
it was pretty wild, man.
Now, your daughter, we were talking a little bit about how many kids you have
I have
altogether?
one.
You have one.
Yeah.
So we were talking about your daughter, and that's not yours biologically, correct?
Correct. So my ex-wife and I adopted her, and my ex-wife is an absolute stud, dude. She's
Right.
like awesome, super cool, and just the mom that my daughter was supposed to have.
Right.
So super fortunate with that. But yeah, we had her since she was full time since she was like 6 months old.
Right.
But we had her since she was a baby.
Right.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, because I too have I have 6 kids,
Right.
right? None of them mine biologically, but I completely believe that that was ordained, right, for this assignment
Oh, dude.
that I'm on.
Oh, bro, I say it all the time. Like, if nothing else, we were together as long as we were to make sure that she was my daughter's mom.
How do you were telling me about co-parenting,
Yeah.
right? So tell me a little bit about that. Like, what does that look like, co-parenting?
She's still not priority number one. Neither one of us.
Who's the favorite parent?
Her. By far, bro. Like, Alika's standing in the room. He'll tell you, too. Like, everyone who knows her versus me, like, likes her better.
Yeah.
That's totally fair. But yeah, she's definitely the favorite parent. And I'm only hurt by that, 90% of the time. So I got 10% I'm working with. But no, man, she's awesome. And our priority is always her first, right? Because divorce wasn't in the plans or anything like that.
Right.
Excuse me. It happened. So now we are she's the number one priority, bro. We don't badmouth each other. We still do things as a family. And we continue to try to have a friendship.
Right.
You know what I mean? We were in each other's lives for a long time, so she's always going to be very important to me.
Did you have to have that difficult conversation with her?
As far as what?
As far as whose stomach was I in?
Oh yeah. So my daughter, so we very much normalized adoption. So we, our neighbor, adopted her daughter. We have another good family friends, some family friends who adopted their daughter.
Right.
So she's seen adoption a lot, and we actually got a really good recommendation. If anyone's out there is adopting a kid, we would buy her books, and they were like adoption children's books, where like a bird would like raise a monkey or something. You know what I mean? It's like on some Tarzan stuff. You know what I mean? And so we very much normalize it. But more than anything, dude, my daughter's smart, bro.
Right.
And she's asking me questions a lot of time, knowing the answer. She's seeing if dad's gonna tell her the truth.
Right.
And so she asked, she's like, okay, cool. Well, whose stomach did I grow up in? And we told her, because I want her to know that even if it's hard, your dad's gonna tell you the truth.
Right. Right. What are some tools that we can give to our listeners today to carry them through difficult times? You were telling me about like reading and things of that nature. That's a big part of your story today, right?
Yeah, I mean, I read a lot of books for
Right.
sure.
And leaders are definitely readers, right? If it took this man 25 years to compile this book,
Yeah,
we have the ability to learn it in 3 to 5 years as long as we implement it,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because head knowledge isn't enough, right? Wisdom is the application of the actual knowledge itself.
Right, right.
So, with that being said, can you give 3 books that have transformed your life?
Yeah, so 3 books are, so Bible number 1, obviously, so let's just, like, not count that as a number is part of it, because that's, like, boom, and man, now I thought I had my answers, and now I'm thinking, like, man, but the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, that transformed my life, but, to keep it more broad-based, not just, Bible or recovery, so mindset books are would be, like, my favorite, I'd say one of the first books that I read is a classic, Rich Dad, Poor Dad,
Right.
right? That helped me out tremendously as far as the way that I wanted to make my money and how I wanted to use my money, right? So Rich Dad, Poor Dad was huge. There's this book that not many people know of. It's called Life in Air.
Life in it.
Life in Air. And it's all about this dude who he's incredibly wealthy, but man, he puts people first, and he uses his gifts to be of service to other people. So it's a really great book, especially for somebody who's super wealthy, maybe wondering what I don't. Life in Air was an amazing book too. And then The Richest Man in Babylon.
The Richest Man in Babylon.
The Richest Man in Babylon. There's a story in there, The Camel Trader,
Okay.
and my LLC is the Camel Trader LLC because of this story hit me so hard, bro. I'll let the audience read it, but it's all about this dude who had it all, did some sketchy stuff, lost it all, and then essentially had to escape slavery, right? In order to find his freedom. And there's a line in there that says, because he says, I used to be a free man, and this lady tells him, but if you're a free man, don't you think you always had the spirit of a slave if you ended up a slave, right? And it like broke me, right? Because I'm thinking like, okay, well,
Yeah, what does that mean to you?
I've been a slave to my own flesh. I've been a slave to my addictions. I've been a slave to the world, right? Like I've enslaved myself to so many things. Like, am I a free man or not? And it really caused me to think, like, am I a free man? Right? Like I know, like physically, right, free, all that stuff, but like spiritually, emotionally, am I free?
What does it mean to be free for you today?
So today, I'm free of the handcuffs and the shackles of drugs and alcohol, right? I'm no longer falling to lust today, right? Like as far as I'm not looking out to cheat or like sleep with a bunch of girls or anything like that. I'm dude, like I don't want these vices that I have like holding me hostage anymore, right? So and I'm not saying that I don't, and I fail at times, right? Still, but to be free, man, is to like not let those things dictate me anymore and believe even bigger than that. Believe like I can create the life that I want, right? With Christ at the center of it. Like you said, man, if it's God, like it's gonna work. Like it can't fail. You said that last night and it was so powerful. Like if God is with this and this has his stamp of approval, I'm paraphrasing, it can't fail, right? It can't fail. So do I believe that? Am I pursuing that? And with that, man, I can go so far. You asked a beautiful question. How far can we take this thing? Dude, that's freedom right there. Knowing that that is possible. How far can I take this thing? That's a free man question. How far can I take this thing? That's a free man question, right? So the spirit that I have, man, is one of, I try to strive to have the spirit of a free man, knowing that I am with Christ and that if it has his stamp of approval, I can't fail.
You talked about creating this life as well, and I'm completely a big believer of that, right? What are different ways that somebody can create a life beyond their wildest dreams?
Christ, one. That's just going to be the easy answer for most of this. But more than anything, man, is like just to even take it to a more world thing. Like I had to break the mindset of, it's all about mindset. So much of it is about mindset. Execution, obviously, nothing replaces execution. Nothing replaces reps, hard work, all that stuff. But yeah, mindset. So I started reading these books. I started learning how men who lived lives that I admired lived. And I wanted to know, okay, how did you do it? and so many of them were big on personal development, right? And not having that worker bee mentality, right? It's like one of the things that my ex and I decided to do was homeschool our daughter. Big reason is because I don't want her conforming to what the system says she has to do. My daughter's a creative person. My daughter's a performer. My daughter is like so bright, right? I'm gonna nurture that, bro. I'm gonna nurture that, and I'm gonna say you can create the world that you want, right?
Right.
But so much of it has to do with mindset.
Mindset.
Yeah.
And I completely agree with you. There's a verse in the word that says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. When I heard that, I was like, what is this? What is this? What does this mean? Right. And as I began to dig deeper and understand, right, what are we speaking to ourselves on a daily basis?
Oh,
Because
so important.
those words that we speak to ourselves are seeds that are being planted that will come forth to fruition. So ask yourself, what are you speaking to yourself, right?
So
Being
important.
free doesn't mean, like you said, that we don't have the thoughts. They
Right.
come, but we take every thought obedient, right? Captive under the obedience of Christ. We can identify the thought. We no longer live in the thought, right? And that's really, really powerful, right? Ask yourself, what am I thinking about on a daily basis? And how are you speaking to yourself, right? God's word says that we are citizens, right? In the kingdom of
100%.
heaven, right? It says that we are more than conquerors, right? It says that we are the head and not the tail, only above and not beneath, right? In
Right.
Christ Jesus, we're sat in heavenly places, that every single thing that our hands touch will, not maybe, not possibly, but it will prosper,
Right.
right? In Italian, we have this saying, it's called "I mani dell'oro," which means golden hands.
Bro, I
It's
like how
not,
like vibrant you got
yeah,
when you dropped that. You're
"Mane
like,
dell'oro,"
yeah.
because it's not by, like I said, by what I do, right? This gift I received wasn't by what I did, it's by
Right.
what he did on behalf of me. And all I have to do is receive it, and then I start to attract these things into my life, right? While other people see obstacles, right, we see opportunities. While
Absolutely.
other people see problems, we see
Solutions.
solutions. And
Absolutely.
that's a mindset that needs to be inhabited. Ask yourself when you wake up in the morning, what is your mindset? Is it to serve self, or is it to be of service to others? Because he who gives will be blessed back in return. If there's one golden nugget that you can give to our listeners that transformed the way that you saw life, what would it be?
So I heard I was watching the speaker one time and he said what I believe is one of the realest things I've ever heard.
Right.
He said, when times get hard, we don't rise to the occasion. We sink to the level of our training.
Wow. Powerful. In your own words, what does that mean?
Dude, I lived it. So when I went through all of that, where was my training? Right. My training was running right back to the rooms, fellowship, Jesus, right? That's where my training was. My training proved good enough to keep me sober. Someone who should be dead statistically, someone who should not be sober through a season of life like that. My training was good enough to keep me clean and keep me and build an even stronger relationship with Christ, right? And that is unreal to me. It's unreal.
There is no condemnation in Christ Jesus, right? You were able to identify it where you fell short. You repented, right? You turned your heart back. You had a transfer in the way that you thought. You
Yeah,
put yourself back in God's arms and you said, okay, I need to walk in action. This is
absolutely.
what I need to do moving forward. And that's really, really powerful. I just want to thank you for coming on our podcast today.
Of
I
course,
want to
man.
thank you for just being of service, right? And giving the keys to others, right? While the world looks to put a thumb on other people, right? We look to empower, to
Absolutely.
uplift, and to inspire other people and walk as aspirations,
Absolutely.
right? To lead. Super powerful. If you guys haven't yet, subscribe to our YouTube page. And if one of you out there are struggling, please feel free to call our main line. One of our team members will pick up, and we're just happy to be of maximum service to you and walk with you through your journey.